The Falling Man, September 11, 2001. A photograph taken at 9:41 a.m. by Associated Press photographer Richard Drew shows a man plunging headfirst from the North Tower of the World Trade Center. His body is aligned perfectly against the geometric lines of the tower, frozen in descent. To the public, the image became one of the most haunting visual records of the attacks, a moment that captured not violence, but resignation. The man's identity was never officially confirmed. Early speculation pointed to Norberto Hernandez, a pastry chef, but his family denied it after close analysis. Later, journalists suggested it could be Jonathan Briley, a sound engineer working at Windows on the World, whose clothing matched the figure in the image. The photograph was published in newspapers worldwide, then quietly withdrawn after backlash from readers who saw it as invasive. Yet its significance endured. The falling man represented hundreds of people who jumped or fell from the towers that morning, individuals who faced the impossible choice between fire and gravity. The photo was not staged or sensationalized. It was a moment of stark human truth captured in a fraction of a second. Chernobyl Liquidators. After the explosion of Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in April 1986, Soviet authorities deployed hundreds of thousands of workers, known as liquidators, to contain the disaster. Many of their faces appear in official photographs, smiling beside the damaged reactor, or working on cleanup operations. To an uninformed viewer, these images look like documentation of bravery and efficiency. The truth beneath them is far more grim. Most of the men were exposed to lethal doses of radiation. Protective suits were scarce, and many were unaware of the full danger. In one notable photograph, a group of soldiers pose on the roof of Reactor 3, unaware that the black graphite debris around them is intensely radioactive. Within hours, many would experience acute radiation sickness. Some died within weeks. Others suffered long-term illnesses that would claim their lives years later. The photographs, later declassified, revealed how the Soviet Union tried to preserve the image of control while concealing the human cost of the cleanup. The men in those pictures were hailed as heroes, but most died quietly, their names recorded in internal reports rather than public monuments. The fire escape collapse. On July 22, 1975, photographer Stanley Foreman was covering a routine fire in Boston's Back Bay when a fire escape collapsed during a rescue. His camera captured a horrifying instant: a woman and a young girl falling from the 5th floor of a burning building. The woman, 19-year-old Diana Bryant, was killed instantly. The child, her 2-year-old goddaughter Tiare Jones, survived the fall after landing on Bryant's body. The photograph, later titled Fire Escape Collapse, won the Pulitzer Prize in 1976. It also sparked national debate about the ethics of publishing graphic imagery. Yet the image's aftermath led to real reform. Boston's building codes were changed, and mandatory inspections of fire escapes were enforced across the country. What looked like a single frozen tragedy became the catalyst for policy change. The picture stands today as a visual reminder of both human fragility and the power of documentary photography to save lives. The Hiroshima Shadows. On August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima vaporized thousands of people instantly. The heat was so intense, over 4,000 degrees Celsius, that it etched human outlines onto walls, pavements, and steps. In photographs taken after the explosion, these shadows appear as silhouettes burned into stone. One of the most famous shows the outline of a man sitting on the steps outside the Sumitomo Bank. The blast obliterated him, leaving only the shadow of his form. To the casual observer, it may look like an eerie stain or an abstract image, but it represents a life that was erased in a millisecond. The Hiroshima Shadows became among the most disturbing visual remnants of nuclear warfare. Unlike most photographs, they do not show people, only their absence. Yet in that absence lies evidence of unimaginable destruction. Scientists later used these markings to calculate the intensity and direction of the blast, turning symbols of death into data for understanding the weapon's effects. The deadly Lake Nyos. On August 21, 1986, a silent disaster struck a remote valley in Cameroon. A photograph later circulated showing livestock lying motionless across green hillsides, their bodies untouched by fire or struggle. At first glance, it looked like the aftermath of famine or disease. The true cause was invisible. That night, a massive cloud of carbon dioxide erupted from Lake Nyos, formed by volcanic gases trapped deep beneath the water. The gas, heavier than air, flowed down into nearby villages, displacing oxygen. Within minutes, over 1,700 people and thousands of animals suffocated in their sleep. Survivors awoke to scenes of total stillness, entire families dead, without a sound or warning. The photograph of the valley the next morning appeared peaceful, even pastoral. Only later did scientists reveal that the lake itself had turned into a weapon, releasing an unseen, suffocating mist. The image remains one of the few visual records of one of the strangest and deadliest natural disasters in history. A tragedy without flames, noise, or visible destruction. Survivor between execution and vengeance. Between justification and atrocity.